Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Ibadan, there lived a young trader named Adetola at 32. He was known for his hard work and sharp business skills. He sold goods at the popular Dugbe markets, and his shop was always filled with customers. But despite his success, there was one thing missing in his life: a wife. Adetola, when will I carry my grandchild? Mama Aduni, his mother, would ask almost every day. You are not getting any younger. Oh. Look at your friends. All of them are married. Or do you want to become the village bachelor? His friends weren't any better. Whenever they gathered to play or gist about life, they would mock him. Tola, you are making money, but you are still eating Mama Aduni's eba every night. Don't you want someone to cook for you? Adetola would laugh it off, but deep down, he felt the pressure. He wanted to get married, but he didn't want to just marry anybody. He wanted someone who would make him proud, someone who would make his friends jealous and his mother happy. One Saturday evening, Adetola attended his friend Kunle's birthday party. The compound was alive with loud music, the aroma of jollof rice, and people dancing under the glow of colorful lights. Adetola was sitting quietly in a corner, sipping his drink when he saw her. She walked in like she owned the place. Temilade was her name. Her skin was smooth, like freshly peeled orange. Her smile lit up the room, and her figure was something else. Her curves were the kind that made men forget their own names, and her big backside was impossible to ignore. Adetola's heart skipped a beat. He nudged Kunle, who was sitting beside him. Kunle, who is that? He whispered, trying not to sound too desperate. Kunle laughed. That's Temilade. She's one of my wife's friends. Why? You like her? Like? Kunle, I think I found my wife. Kunle looked at him, surprised. Wife? Tola, you don't even know her. I don't need to know her. Look at her. She's everything I've been looking for. Adetola said, unable to take his eyes off Temilade. That evening, Adetola found a way to introduce himself. Temilade was polite and charming, and before the night was over, he got her number. As she left the party, he smiled to himself. This is it. My search is over. The next day, Adetola couldn't stop thinking about Temilade. He called her first thing in the morning, and by evening, they had gone on their first date. Over the next few weeks, they spent more time together, and Adetola became even more convinced that she was the one. But before proposing, he decided to speak with his pastor, as was the custom in his church. Pastor Adebayo was an elderly man known for his wisdom. Adetola sat in the pastor's modest office, the air filled with the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Adetola, it is good to see you, Pastor Adebayo said warmly. What brings you here today? Pastor, I found someone. Her name is Temilade, and I'm ready to marry her. Adetola announced confidently. Pastor Adebayo leaned back in his chair and looked at Adetola carefully. Tell me about her. What do you like about her? Adetola smiled. Pastor, she's beautiful. I mean, very beautiful. When she enters a room, everyone notices her. Her shape, her smile, everything about her is perfect. The pastor raised an eyebrow. What about her character? Is she kind? Does she have patience? Can she manage your home? Do you know anything about her family? Adetola paused for a moment. Well, I haven't asked all those questions yet, but I know she's a good person. Pastor Adebayo leaned forward. Adetola, Marriage is not something you rush into. Beauty is good, but beauty cannot cook soup. A good wife is more than what you see on the outside. You must know her heart, her values, her habits. Are you sure you're not being carried away by her appearance? Pastor, don't worry. Temilade is different. She's everything I've ever dreamed of. Adetola replied, brushing off the advice. The pastor sighed deeply. Adetola, listen to me. Physical beauty fades, but a bad choice in marriage can destroy a man's life. Be very sure before you take this step. Pray about it. Think carefully. But Adetola had already made up his mind. Thank you, Pastor, but I know what I'm doing. Temilade is the one for me. The pastor shook his head gently. It's your decision, my son. I only hope you won't regret it. As Adetola left the office, he felt a small voice in his heart telling him to slow down, but he ignored it. In his mind, the matter was settled. Temilade was going to be his wife, and nothing was going to change that. In less than a month, Adetola was down on one knee, holding out a shiny gold ring. He had taken Temilade to a fancy restaurant in Bodija, the kind of place where they served small portions but charged big money. He didn't care about the cost. This was the woman he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. Temi, will you marry me? He asked, his voice shaking with excitement. Temilade covered her mouth dramatically and squealed, Yes, Adetola, I will marry you. The other diners clapped as Adetola slid the ring onto her finger. His heart felt like it would burst with joy. Temilade was officially his. But back home, not everyone was happy about the rushed engagement. When Adetola told his mother, Mama Aduni, she nearly dropped the bowl of amala she was stirring. Tola, are you serious? Marry her? But you just met this girl, she exclaimed, wiping her hands on her wrapper. Mama, I know what I'm doing, Adetola replied, smiling. I love her, and she loves me. That's all that matters. Mama Aduni gave him a sharp look. Tola, love is not enough, oh. Marriage is not a joke. Do you even know her people? What does she do? Does she know how to take care of her home? Mama, you are worrying too much. Temi is perfect, he said, waving her off. Mama Aduni sighed. Okay. But don't come and say I didn't warn you. The wedding was planned in record time. Adetola spared no expense. He rented a big hall, ordered plenty of food, and even hired a live band. On the wedding day, Temilade looked stunning in her white gown, and Adetola couldn't stop smiling. But not everyone at the wedding was convinced. As the couple danced into the reception, some of Adetola's friends whispered among themselves, this marriage is too fast. One of them said, Abio, do they even know each other like that? Another replied, but Adetola didn't care. He was happy, and that was all that mattered to him. 3 days after the wedding, Adetola woke up early as usual. He was used to starting his day with a cup of tea and some akara before heading to the market. But this time, something felt different. The house was quiet, too quiet. Temi, he called out, stepping into the living room. It was empty. He checked the kitchen, empty. Finally, he opened the bedroom door and saw Temilade still in bed, snoring softly. He looked at the clock. It was almost noon. Temi, wake up now, he said, tapping her shoulder gently. She stirred, pulling the blanket over her head. What is it? She mumbled. It's almost noon. Won't you get up and start the day? Adetola asked, his voice laced with confusion. Temilade threw the blanket off her head and frowned at him. Start what? Am I your house girl? If you are hungry, go to the kitchen and cook. Adetola stood there, stunned. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Temi, what are you saying? You are my wife now. You should, abeg, leave me alone. She snapped, turning her back to him. I need my sleep. Adetola stood in silence for a moment, unsure of what to do. This wasn't the sweet, cheerful Temilade he thought he had married. He shook his head and walked away, thinking maybe she's just tired from the wedding stress. But over the next few days, the little things started to add up. Temilade spent most of her time on her phone or watching TV. She didn't cook, didn't clean, and barely spoke to Adetola unless she needed something. One evening, as they sat in the living room, Adetola decided to bring it up. Temi, is everything okay? You've been acting different. She rolled her eyes. What do you mean by different? Can't I relax in my own house? It's not that. I just thought we would work together as a team, like husband and wife. Adetola said carefully. This one is talking about teamwork, she said, laughing sarcastically. If you want a perfect wife, maybe you should have married your mother. Adetola's heart sank. He didn't know what to say. This wasn't the marriage he had dreamed of, but he kept telling himself it was too early to judge. Maybe things would get better, or so he thought. Days turned into weeks, and Adetola began to notice some strange things about his new wife. Temilade started leaving the house in the evenings. Usually after dinner, she would dress up in tight jeans and flashy tops, spray herself with perfume and tell Adetola, I'm going to see my friends. At first, Adetola didn't think much of it, but when it became a regular thing, he started asking questions. Temi, which of your friends do you visit every evening? He asked one night as she applied makeup in front of the mirror. She glanced at him briefly. Just some old friends. Why are you asking? Because I've never met any of them. Shouldn't I know your friends? Temilade stopped what she was doing and turned to face him. Adetola, what is your problem? Don't you trust me? Must you know everything I do? I'm your wife, not your prisoner. Her sharp tone caught him off guard. Temi, it's not like that. I just what? She interrupted, snapping her fingers at him. Abeg, leave me alone. I'll be back later. And with that, she picked up her bag and left the house, slamming the door behind her. Adetola sat in silence, staring at the door. Something didn't feel right, but he didn't know what to do. One night, as he lay in bed waiting for her to return, he noticed a strange smell in the room. It wasn't the sweet scent of her perfume. It was something strong and sharp, almost like burnt leaves. Curious, he got up and started looking around. When he opened her bedside drawer, he found some plastic bags filled with a greenish substance. His heart pounded. He didn't know what it was, but he knew it wasn't ordinary. When Temilade came home that night, he confronted her. Temi, what are those things in your drawer? She burst out laughing. Adetola, you are really funny. You went through my drawer. Are you not a detective? I'm serious, Temi. What are they? She waved him off. It's nothing. Just something a friend gave me. You worry too much. But Adetola wasn't convinced. Something was definitely wrong, but he decided to keep quiet for now. One evening, as Temilade prepared to leave the house again, Adetola quietly made up his mind he would follow her. He needed to know where she was going and what she was doing. After she left, He waited a few minutes before grabbing his slippers and stepping out. He kept a safe distance, watching as she walked down the street and got into a cab. He quickly flagged down an Okada. "Follow that car," he said, pointing at the cab. The Okada rider gave him a curious look, but didn't ask questions. They trailed the cab all the way to the outskirts of town. Temilade got out and entered a small bar with a blinking neon sign that read, "Peace Corner." Adetola paid the rider and quietly approached the bar. From the window, he could see Temilade sitting at a corner table. But she wasn't alone. A woman with short dyed hair sat beside her. The two of them were laughing, their hands touching in a way that made Adetola's stomach run. As he watched, the woman leaned in closer, whispering something into Temilade's ear. Temilade smiled and held the woman's hand, interlocking their fingers. Adetola felt his knees weaken. He couldn't believe what he was saying. His wife, his new wife, was acting like she was in love with another woman. He stayed hidden, watching as they talked and laughed like lovers. After some time, they both stood up and left the bar together, walking hand in hand down the street. Adetola didn't follow them any further. He stood there, frozen, his mind racing. How could this be happening? How could the woman he married, the woman he thought he knew, believe in a life he knew nothing about? His heart felt heavy as he slowly turned and walked back home. The truth was beginning to unfold, and it was nothing like he had imagined. That night, Temilade came home around midnight, humming a tune as she opened the door. She didn't seem to notice Adetola sitting in the living room, waiting for her. His face was tight with anger, his hands clasped together tightly. "Where are you coming from, Temi?" he asked, his voice low but firm. She paused, glancing at him with mild irritation. "I told you I went to see my friends. Is there a problem?" Adetola stood up and moved closer to her. "Which friends, Temi? Who is that woman I saw you with tonight? The one you were holding hands with?" Her face changed immediately. "You followed me. Ah, Adetola, so now you are spying on me. What kind of husband are you? Are you mad? Don't try to turn this around, Temi." Adetola snapped, his voice rising. "Answer my question. Who is she? What were you doing with her?" Temilade threw her bag on the chair and folded her arms. So what if I was with her? Is it a crime? Why are you acting like a policeman in your own house? Stop pretending," Adetola shouted. "I saw everything. I saw how close you two were. Is there something you are hiding from me?" Temilade sighed dramatically, shaking her head. "Adetola, you won't rest until you hear the truth, Abi." "Fine, I'll tell you. Yes, I'm attracted to women. So what? Are you happy now?" The words hit Adetola like a slap. He stood there, speechless, staring at her. She continued, her voice sharp. "You think I married you because I love you? Let me make it clear. I married you because I needed a cover. My family was pressuring me to get married, and you were the perfect mugu. All you cared about was my body." Adetola staggered backward, his hand on his head. "Temi, what are you saying? So everything was a lie? Our marriage? It means nothing to you?" She laughed bitterly. "Marriage? What marriage? Abeg, stop deceiving yourself. You didn't marry me for love either. You married me because of my backside. Now you've got it. Enjoy." Adetola sank into the nearest chair, his head spinning. How had his life come to this? Over the next few days, Adetola's world began to crumble even further. He started noticing the things he had ignored before. Temilade's late nights, the strange smells in the house, the calls she always took in whispers. One morning, while Temilade was out, Adetola decided to search the house. He opened her drawers, her wardrobe, even her handbags. What he found made his heart sink even deeper. Inside one of her bags, he found more of the small plastic packets with the green substance. In another, he found a folded sheet of paper, an old police report. It detailed how Temilade had been arrested years ago for drug possession. When Temilade came back that afternoon, he confronted her again. "Temi, what is all this? Drugs? A police report? Is there anything else you've been hiding from me?" She smirked, clearly unbothered. "Ah, you've been busy, Adetola, snooping around like a houseboy." "Temi, this is serious," he shouted. "You are using drugs? You've been arrested before? How could you hide all this from me?" She rolled her eyes and flopped onto the couch. "Look, you married me, so deal with it. This is who I am. Or did you think I was some perfect wife material because of my looks? I beg, free me." Adetola felt a wave of anger rise inside him. "How can you talk like this, Temi? Do you have no shame?" "Shame? For what?" She shot back. "You chose me because of my body, not my character. So don't come and act like you are surprised now. You wanted a trophy wife, and you got one. End of story." Adetola sat down, burying his face in his hands. He didn't know what to do. The woman he had married was a stranger, someone he didn't recognize. He had ignored all the warnings, blinded by her physical beauty, and now he was paying the price. Temilade stood up and grabbed her bag. "I'm going out. Don't wait up," she said casually, walking out the door without a second glance. As the door slammed shut, Adetola sat alone in the silence, his mind racing with regret. This wasn't a mistake. It was a nightmare. Adetola sat in Pastor Adebayo's office, his head bowed low. He couldn't even look up. His hands fidgeted with the edge of his shirt, and he finally spoke. "Pastor, I've messed up. I made a big mistake," he said, his voice shaking. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he quickly wiped them away. Pastor Adebayo leaned forward, his face calm but serious. "Adetola, tell me what happened." Adetola took a deep breath. "Everything you warned me about, it's happening. Temilade, she's not who I thought she was. She lies. She's into bad things, Pastor. She doesn't even love me. She told me I was just her cover." Pastor Adebayo sighed deeply. "Adetola, I'm not here to say I told you so. What's done is done. But now, you have to decide how to move forward." "But Pastor," Adetola interrupted, "marriage is supposed to be forever. I feel trapped. What will people say if I leave her?" "Listen to me, Adetola," Pastor said firmly. "Marriage is serious, yes, but it's not a prison. God doesn't want you to live in regret or suffering because of a mistake. Pray for guidance. Ask God what He wants you to do. He will show you the way." Adetola nodded, though his heart was heavy. After leaving the church, he went to see his mother, Mama Aduni. She was sitting in the living room peeling yam when he arrived. "Mama," Adetola began, kneeling in front of her, "I need to talk to you." She looked at him closely. "Tola, what is it? You look like you have been carrying the weight of the whole world on your shoulders." "Mama, I made a mistake, a big one. Temilade is not the woman I thought she was," he said, his voice breaking. "I don't know what to do." Mama Aduni paused, her knife hovering above the yam. "My son, I won't lie to you. I knew this girl wasn't right for you from the beginning. But what has happened has happened. The question now is, what do you want to do? Adetola hesitated. I don't know. Mama, should I stay and try to fix it? Or should I let her go? Mama Aduni placed her hand on his shoulder. Marriage is not by force, Tola. If you've prayed and searched your heart, and you know staying in this marriage is not God's will for you, then don't let shame or fear keep you there. Life is too short to live in misery. Think carefully, my son. Adetola nodded. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he knelt by his bed, praying for guidance until dawn. After weeks of praying and thinking, Adetola made his decision. That evening, he called Temilade into the living room. She was busy scrolling on her phone, barely paying him any attention. Temi, he began, his voice steady. We need to talk. She looked up, her face blank. Talk about what? I'm busy. It's about our marriage, he said firmly. This isn't working. Temilade smirked and leaned back in her chair. Oh, finally! I've been waiting for you to say something. Honestly, Adetola, this marriage has been stressing me. You are too uptight, and I have my own life to live. So if you want to end it, no problem, I'm done. Her words stung, but Adetola kept his composure. All right then, if that's how you feel, let's make it official. Temilade shrugged, grabbed her things and left without another word. Adetola sat in the silence, feeling both relief and sadness. He had dreamed of a happy marriage, but this was not it. The whispers in the village began almost immediately. People gossiped about how quickly the marriage had fallen apart. But Adetola ignored them. He focused on rebuilding his life, leaning on his faith and his family for support. Months later, during a visit to the local market, Adetola met Abike, a quiet, kind-hearted woman who sold akara. She was nothing like Temilade, simple, humble, and respectful. They began talking, and over time, a genuine connection grew between them. One evening, Adetola introduced Abike to his mother. Mama Aduni beamed with approval. Now, this is the kind of woman you should have married in the first place, she said. Abike eventually became Adetola's wife, and their marriage was built on trust, respect, and love. The pain of his past slowly faded, replaced by joy and gratitude for a second chance. In the village, Adetola's story became a lesson. Whenever young men talked about marriage, elders would remind them, no be by big yash, look for character first. And Adetola, he smiled quietly anytime he heard it, knowing he had learned the lesson the hard way, but was better for it. What a journey, right? Adetola's story teaches us that true beauty isn't just about looks. It's about character, values, and love. But what do you think? Have you ever seen someone make this kind of mistake? Or do you have your own lessons to share? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story and want more intriguing tales like this, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. And please share this video with your friends and family. Someone might learn a valuable lesson today. Thank you for watching and see you in the next story.